Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and today I want to talk about the new Picard trailer, which I think is a very mixed bag. It has a lot of very good things, which I'm very happy about, but also a few iffy things, and some of the way few things are shown are also a bit concerning. So I'm going to do a breakdown of the entire trailer frame by frame, but first of all I want to mention some of the best things in the trailer, and I think 7 of 9 appearing is one of the best news. That's something I was saying even a year ago when I was making videos and speculations about the Picard show. I was saying one of the characters that should appear is 7 of 9 for a few reasons. First of all, Jerry Ryan still looks great. And also it would be very interesting to put her character together with Picard because they have a lot in common. They were both assimilated by the Borg and got free. And if the Borg would be a part of the story, then they just have to get 7 of 9 in this show. So that's why I am very happy that she is going to be in it. The Borg apparently are also going to be part of the story. Even though I don't think the Borg themselves will be the villains. It looks like someone else are using the remains of a Borg cube for their own goals. And so the Borg themselves maybe won't even be a main villain. But they will have some presence, which I think is good because the Borg were always very cool aliens, cybernetic. It opens up a whole bunch of interesting science fiction ideas as well as visuals. Now the Borg also run the risk that if they don't use this well, this might just feel like recycling the same idea again, sort of like what happened in Voyager because they kept bringing back the Borg and just cheapening them in a way. So that's my minor concern about the Borg appearing in this show. So I hope there will be some kind of interesting story in this and not just like a bone to the fan, oh look it's the Borg and that's it, so that would be lame. Visually, I'm sure it will be good because, as technology improved and so the Borg, it's now possible to make them look even creepier and stuff. So overall, I'm glad about this. Overall, I think it might be cool, especially with 7 of 9 in the picture together with Picard. That's great. So that's my number one best thing in the trailer. Number 2 is the appearance of Brent Spiner as before, I guess. I'm guessing that's not Data because he was blown up in a pretty big explosion, so I doubt anything of him could have been recovered. So I'm pretty sure those remains are of before and not Data, and I am happy Brent Spiner will be in the show. That's also something I said is a must for the show. I said he has to have at least one cameo in one episode. That's simply an obligation in the show to at least explain what happened with before. Now as for what actually happened to him apparently, that's a bit of a problem story-wise, because why the hell is he disassembled? I mean, he was, the last time we saw him, he was in the hands of Starfleet. So unless he was stolen by someone else and disassembled for something, then it means Starfleet itself did that, and that doesn't make much sense. Because even if he didn't turn into Data, he still would be a sentient life form. Because remember there was a whole episode in TNG about Picard fighting for Data's rights to make Starfleet acknowledge him as a sentient person and not just a piece of equipment. And in the end of that episode, the Data got his right of free will, so if he wants to he can resign from Starfleet, so they cannot force him to do anything. So shouldn't that apply to other androids of the same type if they are just as sentient as him? Shouldn't they be getting human rights and all of that? So why the hell did they disassemble him? Now this was a problem in TNG itself as well, because I remember when they disassembled Lore, Data's brother, they did that without giving him any kind of fair trial or hearing or anything. They just turned him off and disassembled him, and that's it. So he was basically executed without a trial, because if they disassembled him forever, then that's technically execution. So if he was a sentient person like Data, and in some ways he was even more human than Data, so shouldn't he have been given the same rights as a person? So that means a fair trial, a hearing. If you disassemble him forever, then that's basically execution, or an infinite amount of time in prison. And we don't even know how many people did he actually kill. I mean, I guess he killed Dr. Sung, he killed a few of the Borg drones, some of the Enterprise crew probably died. I guess he's too dangerous for prison, but then keep him disassembled, keep only his head or something, don't give him any Wi-Fi connections and all of that. So this is kind of fishy, this whole situation. So I guess that hearing of Data, maybe it applied only to Data personally himself and not to other androids. Because even with Lal, his daughter, some admiral wanted to take her away and didn't want to listen to what she has to say about it, so it appeared as if other androids didn't get the same rights as Data did. So we can say before he's not technically Data, so maybe he wouldn't get the same rights, and that's why he got disassembled. But I hope they will have some logical explanation for this, because if they say that Starfleet did that, then that would make Starfleet look bad. And I'm always getting annoyed at that, because it ruins the whole idea of this utopia of the Federation and all of that. Now as for how he actually looks like, I think his face is a little bit too puffy and it's very noticeable. It looks like they simply put a lot of heavy makeup on him to make him look younger, but it had that result of making him look kind of too fat. So maybe they should use some CGI to fix that. I made a video with Photoshop to show how we can fix his face to make him look much better, so I think they should do that with some CGI. I mean, this technology is pretty common now, so it shouldn't be too difficult or expensive, so they should definitely make him look a little bit younger and thinner. Maybe it was some CGI, I'm not sure how they did his face. It looks like they just put a lot of layers of makeup on him and that made him kind of puffy, so they should definitely fix that with some post-production CGI. But if I had to pick between this or not seeing him at all, I would pick this, and so I'm still happy about Brent Spiner appearing. And another interesting thing in this new footage is this new character who looks a lot like Data's daughter Lal. I made a whole video about that, which I actually recorded 2 weeks ago, and I uploaded it a few days ago, and I said I was going over the actors who play in the show, and I noticed one actress who looks kind of similar type to Lal, and so I speculated, I made a whole video speculation that maybe that is actually her, that maybe someone recovered her from Data's brain and recreated her, so maybe that is actually Data's daughter. And now after this new footage was released, I'm seeing a lot of other people also speculating about this, but actually now I don't think that's the case, because we have a few clues which dismiss that. So I think she is probably something to do with the Borg, most likely, and not Data's daughter. So we saw her in that prison, which appears to be inside that cube, so it looks like the Romulans took over a Borg cube and are mining it for technology, and are keeping prisoners there who might be former Borg drones who got liberated. And we see that she's there, so maybe she was a Borg drone who was liberated and then escaped from that prison, and then she came to Picard and she said something about knowing him and trusting him, but that might be because he was once part of the collective, so maybe she's aware of him that way, and not anything to do with that. Also we see that she's bleeding in her head. If you zoom in, you see that she has red blood, and so that kind of dismisses the idea that she's a Sung type android. And also she has no memories, she doesn't know who she is, so if she doesn't have the memories of Lal, then what would make her a Lal? And so it doesn't make sense anymore. That was something I was hoping for. That's something which I think would have been a cool idea, to bring back Lal as a new android for this show and to have her have some of Data's memories and so on, and that way you won't have to have Brent Spiner in the show except for a cameo. It might still be the case, but I think with all these new clues, I think it's unlikely. I think it will be revealed that she was not just a simple drone, but maybe a future queen. Maybe she was supposed to be the next queen. Maybe right before she transformed into a queen, her cube was ambushed and disabled, and she was captured. That's why she was in that prison. And then she escaped, and so she has a bunch of abilities because she's a very advanced cyborg, basically, and not an android. Even though they might go with that route as well. Or even combine it somehow. Maybe she does have some android parts. Now, because Brent Spiner will be in it as well, I guess it's still possible to tie it with Lal somehow, but I really can't see how they would do that now. We don't see any other Star Trek characters, but I'm guessing we'll have more cameos. There are some rumors about Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis being in it, so I think that would be great as well. We'll get to see if they're still married. Also, we had that shot of Captain Picard Day, which I think is the same exact prop from the episode Pegasus, or maybe it's a recreation, but I am happy about that, even though it's obvious they're kind of playing on our nostalgia, but I'm fine with that, that's what I want them to do, so I'm not going to complain if they will bring back things from the show or tie to the show, if it's done in a natural, organic way to the story, and not just throwing it in there just to have it in there for no reason, but if it's organic and natural, then I'll be very happy about that. So now I'm going to watch the trailer again. I'm going to pause every time I want to say something, so let's begin. So the first shot is of his vineyard, which I think looks great. My only problem with that is that it doesn't look like the same place as was in the TV show, but maybe we can explain that away by saying they have a lot of fields like that. It wasn't just that one place we saw. Maybe it's on a very big territory, so he has several houses, so we can explain it that way. And also we know that his family died in a fire, so it's possible the old one simply burned down, and that can explain why it all looks so different. So it's not the same exact house, it's not the same exact vineyard, it has been rebuilt, reconstructed, and that can explain the differences. I only hope they won't directly contradict this in the dialogue. If Picard comes into that house and says that that's the exact same house he grew up with or something like that, then that would annoy me, because that would be kind of a contradiction. But if the dialogue is clever, then it would avoid making any contradictions, and then I would be totally fine with this. So it appears Picard is nostalgic, he wants to go back to space, he looks at his old comm badge, so he looks kind of bored, he wants to go back into space, I guess. Then we get that shot of Data's parts being opened. So was he in storage all this time? So he didn't turn into Data, he wasn't the captain of the Enterprise E, or maybe he was and something happened after that. I like the dialogue that Picard said that he sacrificed his life to save his, because that's what happened in Nemesis. So I'm glad they're kind of building up on that idea and continuing it and not just ignoring all those events. Now another shot of that vineyard, and we see some robots watering it, so I guess it's all kind of automatic, so he doesn't have to be there to take care of it, so that's good, I guess. Picard with his dog, he says he tried to belong here, but he misses space, I'm guessing. We see him with the comm badge, so obviously he's missing Starfleet. Now we have a shot of that woman, that Lal look-alike, but you notice she has that wound on her head, and it appears to have red blood, and so I think she's part human. It appears Picard is on TV there in that shop or something, so that's kind of strange. And people with umbrellas, wouldn't they have more advanced technology in this time? Why do they have like current day umbrellas? Wouldn't they have like an automatic force field or something so they wouldn't have to carry an umbrella? She thinks he might know who she is. That's a bit strange. Why would he know who she is? So this might be a clue that maybe she is indeed Lal, because Lal did know Picard. She says everything inside of me feels I'm safe with you, so that does kind of remind me of Lal, because remember there was that scene when Lal started feeling feelings and she was kind of beating herself on the chest, saying that's what it means to feel, and so there is some similarity here, but I'm still kind of skeptical. But you know, that would be a pleasant surprise. That's something that was my idea, which I suggested. So if it turns out to be true, I will be happy, but I really doubt it, because you notice that wound on her head, which appears to have red blood, and so I doubt she's an android. She's probably a former Borg drone. So we see Picard going to a Starfleet building. And by the way, I love his costume, that it's not a Starfleet uniform, but it's kind of similar. It has the same kind of line separation between the upper part and the middle part, which looks kind of like a uniform. And the other people around have a Voyager type of uniform, which I guess is possible Starfleet reverted to that after the Dominion War, because it was all grey uniforms, and then later I'm guessing it's possible they return to these uniforms, which they don't look exactly like what is supposed to be in the time period we saw in all those episodes taking place in the future. But I'm willing to accept this, because you know, it's at least it looks like a Starfleet uniform, so I'm happy about that. I love the Admiral's uniform, because it does look similar to the uniforms we saw in all those episodes taking place in the future, which is around this time period. So Picard tells her about meeting this woman who is in danger, and I'm guessing that dialogue we heard in the previous trailer, that was by this Admiral who asked Picard why he left Starfleet and all of that, and that will give some backstory of how he was disappointed by Starfleet, and I'm guessing she will not agree to help him, which is why he will go off on his own and recruit non-Starfleet people to go on his mission, because Starfleet will disappoint him. And again, the only problem with that is that it makes Starfleet look bad. This is one of the greatest captains in Starfleet history, who saved the entire galaxy, who saved the whole Federation a few times, and he cannot even get the Starfleet Admiral to help him out a little bit, so this makes all of Starfleet look bad. And where is Admiral Riker? Why doesn't he go to him? Maybe it should be mentioned that he's in some distant corner of the galaxy, something like that. That's why he cannot help him. And maybe later on in the show, Riker will show up to help with Starship, so that would be cool. This female Admiral looks like she's not going to help Picard, which is why he will go off on his own. We get a shot of some bad guys, which I'm guessing will turn out to be Romulans. And we see this Lal chick running pretty fast, and so this is probably why people think she's an android. She appears to be beating up a whole bunch of people on her own, and I'm guessing they came to kidnap her because she's so important. And when one of those guys falls down, he appears to be beamed up by what looks like a Starfleet transporter, and so I'm guessing those are not Romulans, so probably humans, maybe Section 31 operatives. Maybe that's why Picard doesn't want to go to Starfleet. Maybe he knows the Section 31 infiltrated a lot of Starfleet, so that's why he cannot trust Starfleet, and that's why he will go off on his own, so that at least will explain why he cannot turn to any other admiral. She's in serious danger. You know, some of this delivery, I'm not sure if it's the lines themselves or the actor, but some of it sounds kind of lazy. I'm not sure, it's kind of strange. We see a shot of some starships, which we don't know who they belong to yet. Then a shot of some lab in which it looks like these are Romulan scientists, and it appears they're removing implants from Borg drones, and so I'm guessing this is all inside that cube we saw, which is also a prison for those former drones, and the Romulans appear to be mining Borg technology. Here's the shot of the Captain Picard day, which is great. This is definitely nostalgic. So here is this prison looking place, which I'm guessing is inside the Borg cube, because we see those Borg alcoves in the back and we see Romulan guards, and we also have that sign that says 5,000 days without an assimilation. So that makes me suspect all those prisoners are Borg drones and they're all being deborgified. And we see the same chick that we saw meeting Picard, so we don't know if this is before or after. So did she start out here and then escape and find Picard, or was she captured by those guys who attacked her and then brought into this facility, and maybe Picard wants to rescue her from here and all these other prisoners. So maybe because he's a former Borg drone himself, that will also give him that extra motivation to try to save all these people, and maybe Seven of Nine also will help out with that, because she's also sympathetic to Borg drones, and so that would make sense. And we see some Vulcan woman who looks like she doesn't want to help Picard, and we see Picard in the desert. That looks like the same place we saw in a whole bunch of Star Trek episodes. This shot is probably from the same place where he goes into that Starfleet building, and we see people transporting in and out of that gate. That's kind of cool. We see some shots of the new crew, that these are all the guys that Picard will recruit. I recognize some of the actors, I looked them up. Picard goes into some poor looking place. I'm guessing this is that same planet as the desert. We see this Romulan guy who is some martial arts expert or something. Why is his forehead so smooth? Actually, that's something I like in this trailer, because we do see a whole bunch of Romulans, but they all look a little bit different. Some of them have smooth foreheads, others have that bulky forehead. And this is something that was never properly explained in Star Trek, because in the original series the Romulans looked exactly like Vulcans. They only had the ears and the eyebrows, but they had smooth foreheads, and only in TNG and onward the Romulans suddenly had the bulky forehead. And then in the JJ movie again they had the smooth forehead with tattoos. And here apparently we have a whole bunch of variety of different Romulans. So some of them have smooth heads, other ones have that bulky forehead, but not as bulky as in TNG, and so it's like a middle ground between all of that, and kind of finding the middle ground between all of them. And here this starts looking kind of like the style of Star Trek Discovery, which I personally don't like. We see some floating cameras following Picard around, and I don't really like this shot. It kind of looks like a fan-made movie or something. Something is just off with the lighting and everything. Looks kind of like Star Trek Discovery, again with the lens flares. She's the end of all, she's the destroyer. Another Romulan with kind of a partially bulky forehead, and he says that chick is the end of all, she's the destroyer. And then a shot of the Borg cube, so I'm pretty sure she's going to be a former Borg drone or a potential queen and all of that. So now we see Seven of Nine, and she sounds more human, which makes sense because it's been 2 decades since Voyager. So I like that. Another shot of what looks like that cube, and we see those same starships we saw earlier. So I'm guessing the Romulans took over this cube and are using this as a base and mining all its technology. And here we have a shot of this new ship which Picard is on with this new crew, and it looks like the Star Trek Discovery style with all the lens flares and holograms and all of that. At least now it fits with the time frame, because it's all in the future, so it makes sense for everything to be so advanced. And also it's not a Starfleet ship, and so that's why the different style can be okay. It doesn't have to look like the bright, pretty sets of a Starfleet ship, and so at least we have that excuse here. But I still am kind of disappointed, because I was looking forward to a more pretty style like in TNG, but maybe we'll get that later. Maybe if actual Starfleet ships join this show as well, maybe we will see much better looking sets, because this looks kind of ugly. So that's why I say it reminds me of Star Trek Discovery, which I don't like, partly because of the visual style of it. Here's a shot of what I'm guessing is a Borg drone being deborgified. They take away his Borg implants. It's unclear if he's still alive or not. Another shot of Seven of Nine with those same lights that we saw Picard, so I'm guessing that's on Picard's new ship. Another STD corridor, I'm guessing that's the same place as that prison in that cube. Picard shooting at someone, that's the same place where he met Seven of Nine, so I'm wondering what's going on. Another shot of Lal in the Borg prison. I'm calling her Lal just for now, probably she's not going to be that in my opinion. Picard saying engage, and he looks right at the camera, so that's kind of breaking the fourth wall. So maybe this is not footage from the actual show, maybe this is just kind of one of the outtakes, looking directly at the camera, but maybe that's like the final shot of the episode or something. And him doing that is okay. He did the same thing in that last episode of TNG, when Captain Beverly Picard told him to do it for all time's sakes, and then he said engage. But the way he says that, it kind of, his acting here is a little bit fishy, like it all seems like he's phoning it in a little bit. So I'm kind of worried about that his acting seems to be kind of lazy a little bit. Maybe, you know, as I said many times, when an actor gets too much power and everybody worships him, becomes his yes man. So maybe like everyone were afraid to tell him something, you know, maybe you should do another take, you didn't do it perfect, maybe you should try it again. Like maybe everybody on the set was so scared of him because he's the legendary Patrick Stewart, and so no one ever told him that this take wasn't so good, do it again or something like that. And so the result is that his acting is not perfect. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope the show will be good. And we see him playing poker with Data. And what's that he's drinking? Why is that not tea? Why is that not Earl Grey tea? Why does that look like something else? It looks like Odo or something. So I'm joking. That's fine. I'm not that nitpicky. And he says I don't want the game to end. And we see Brent Spiner, and the only problem with the scene is that his face is a little bit puffy, so I hope they fix that a little bit in post-production with special effects. Today it can be easily done, and in my previous video I did that with Photoshop with just a few minutes. I made him look a lot better, so hopefully they will improve his look in post-production. So overall I'm still optimistic about the show. There were a lot of things I'm very happy about, but also a few things I'm worried about, so this should be interesting. So I am looking forward to it. I really hope it will be good. So that's all I have to say for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below and we can discuss it. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye.